welcome to a tour of my bookshelves. Originally I was going to show you my process as I rearranged it, but I decided to finally just go ahead and rearrange it. Now I'm going to show you how things look. So for the most part, all of these books are books that I've read. There are exceptions. For the most part, I've tried to organize things a certain way. There are exceptions. Some of the organizing might not make sense to some people, but it mostly makes sense in my brain, so we're gonna go with that. My biggest struggle, these are the IKEA Billy bookcases, before I forget, because people always ask. My biggest struggle is figuring out what to do on the bottom shelves, because we frequently have people over that have little kids, and I just don't want all the books grabbed out. So that is a problem. I do have doors on some of them. Those house all our homeschool resources, mostly books, and stuff like that. We got charging cables for phones and stuff in there. I'm not going to show you inside there today, but let's just get started. I'm not going to show you every single book because I don't want to film a tour like that. I don't like to watch tours like that. I'm going to show you my shelves, maybe highlight a few books. We'll just see what happens here. So for the most part, across the top, I have some of our games. There are some exceptions. We have photo books and cookbooks. There is this cool Sherlock book nook that Holly made for me a few years ago. I keep meaning to do a tour inside there, and I'm going to show you this little bookcase first. First of all, I'm in the middle of working on the Winter Country Diary puzzle, so those pieces are there. This is a little bit of my middle grade books. My daughter has taken a bunch of them and brought them downstairs and is organizing them, so this is just some. This is a section I'm not really using very well right now. This used to be the stuff that I would read in the morning back when I sat at the kitchen table and did it. Now I sit on the couch. This is a verse we're currently learning. This is a funny letterboard that we're just messing around with. And then here is a bunch of random big books. Honestly, I haven't looked behind here in quite some time. And then I thought I would continue the random book stuff down here with a Bible recap, and then it's empty down there. So obviously need to do more there. So my middle grade books kind of continue here. I have these awesome candlesticks that my mom found used one year for Christmas for me. I love those. They stay on our table a lot in the winter. Yeah, some of these are my favorite. I love Aggie Morton. This cool play on if Agatha Christie was a detective when she was a little kid. Love those. Some of these are just mostly for my kids. This shelf I have rainbow organized. This book up here, my son actually is currently reading, so I have the dust jacket up there. And this is a middle grade book that is really cute and does not get enough attention, I feel like. Down here is just some more randomness. I've got my big Spurgeon's sermons, which I have not read more of for quite some time. I would like to continue these eventually. Our speaker that we use for audiobooks for our homeschool, you know, wonderful things, essential oils. We've got our Google Home, and then a bunch of poetry books that we use for poetry tea time in our homeschool. And then I'll just jump across here. I made a new Agatha Christie shelf. She used to be tucked back in the corner, but I thought she needed a little bit more highlighting, so she's over here now. These are my read Agatha Christie, with the exception that I haven't read all of the short stories. I haven't read the entire Who's Who. And then more short stories I haven't read all of, and her secret notebooks that I'm slowly making my way through. But many Agatha Christie that I have read. These next two shelves are my classic shelves. These are all classics that I have read. I think there might be an exception or two in here. I love these editions of these classics. I now own all 4 of those. I do have a few little knickknacks. This is a vintage camera that my husband bought for me years ago from an antique store. More classics, lots of which I love. Some of which are just here because I read it and I want proof that I've read it, especially some of the ones that I feel like I've really endured through instead of enjoying. This is a jar of money from just different coins and bills from different places that I have traveled, so it's pretty cool. It's a cool little keepsake that it doesn't, it's not as much money as it looks, but I like having it there. And then next to the classics, now this is an area I've completely reorganized. These books are kind of outliers. They don't really fit into my other organization, but they're all books that I really love. If you are like a really hardcore bookish person, I highly recommend this book. It's cute little comics that I adore. Seashells that Jared and I collected on our honeymoon. And then this is my mystery, suspense, mostly mystery collection. The Sherlock ones I was tempted to put in the classics section, but I put them here. This shelf was kind of hard to figure out. So these are Christian fiction spanning a few different genres that I didn't have enough of to make like separate sections. So there's a little bit of everything there. And then this is my Christian historical fiction section. I'm borrowing actually quite a few books out from this section right now. And then my Jamie Jo Wright books, which I'm also borrowing a lot out right now. And then this cool elephant that we got in Uganda years ago. I'm pretty sure this was made from banana leaf. I think so. My science fiction shelf I organized by color for the most part, and I really like this shelf. I realized I have quite a few science fiction books. This one's on top because Jared's currently reading it. He's beat me on that one. I haven't got to that one yet. I loved so many of these books in the last year or two, and then some of them I'm keeping because I think maybe my daughter will like them in a few years. I'm not sure if I would have like the Hunger Games series and the Divergent series kept otherwise, but I think she'll enjoy them, and then maybe we'll get rid of them if she doesn't. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm currently taking an Instagram break, but I did share my L.M. Montgomery shelf recently. I wanted a nice big shelf highlighting the books that I love so much. And of course, I always talk about these Tundra edition covers. Love these. I wish all of her books were in that edition. I have a bunch of them. The Story Girl is my favorite L.M. Montgomery book, so that gets nicely displayed there. And then some of these are duplicates, and then I have a bunch more of her books downstairs on my unread shelf. This space is mainly my short story collections. Most of these, I think all of these, I haven't finished them. I've started them, but I don't want to read them all the way through, so this is kind of where they live. And then right next to it, this is my current month TBR, and then starting in January, I started flipping them backwards so I couldn't see the spines, because I would just sit on the couch thinking about the books that I had to read. Not like had to, but like that were coming up that I wanted to read. I was just getting too distracted, so I flipped them around, and that's actually been oddly helpful. And then underneath here, we just have a basket of toys for the cat. I'm not sure what to do with this space right now, so there's nothing there. At the top over here, we've got more games, of course, but Sanderson's Stormlight Archive is way up there. I might move his books down yet, but they've been there for a while, so that's just currently where they are. This little section from here on is historical fiction that's not specifically Christian. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to do with that. And this plant is totally getting in the way, but over here I have like my Christian suspense kind of mystery. I think it's pretty much all just Christian suspense books, which used to be my top genre like back when I was in high school, but I don't read a ton of them now, but I really do like the ones that I really like, if that makes sense. These are a few random books, a lot, it's assorted. There's some parenting, some homeschool, and other just random stuff. This is a bit of my fantasy. Pretty much all my fantasy that isn't in a different section is there. And then we've got the Sanderson shelf. So I think I might move the Stormlight Archive down here, but all of the other Sanderson books that I have currently read, except I haven't read this one actually, are down here. This is out of order because my daughter's currently reading this one. It should be right there. And more this series. I also need to finish the last one. More Sanderson over there. This is the majority of our Christian nonfiction. Well, at least the stuff that I've either read or like plan on reading. There's definitely more of it downstairs in my TBR shelf. Okay, and this is just a little bit of randomness. I don't really know what this is. This is just stuff that's usually behind a chair, so I don't come here. Books that are going to be read eventually, but that's like book 2 and I don't own book 1. Book my daughter is going to read eventually. Stuff that I just don't feel 100% ready for yet. I think that's also book 2. Book 2, part of the Nancy Drew series, which I'll show you the rest of it here shortly. And then down here, it's become a mess. It was, organized at one point. That's mostly our kids' picture books. And then some of the Usborne Lift the Flap books that we like to, look at quite frequently, I would say. And then these shelves here are pretty much empty, other than this. I guess this should be with the picture books. This is a beautiful picture book about adoption. I love this. Just kind of organized as we go here, apparently. Oh, and then this other one is origami that goes along with the book. It's pretty cool. So this is where all of my Nancy Drew books currently are. I'm actually, technically they were my daughter's, and then I've filled in the gaps that there was, but I think we're going to be getting rid of them. She's not interested. I loved Nancy Drew as a kid, but I'm not really interested in going back and reading them again. So they went from having a nice big shelf to being shoved into this tiny shelf, too deep here. Yeah, that's on my to-do list for in the near-ish future. Then I have a bit of a Tolkien shelf. These are the ones I've actually read. I just showed you some that I haven't read and I don't feel ready for. My husband and my daughter also have these 4 books in different editions of their own. So we kind of all just have our own sets of those books. And then we've got a plant that wants to be in focus because it thinks it's super cool. Some Hardy Boys books. I thought maybe my son would like these because he does like mysteries, but he's not quite ready for them yet. So I'm holding on to them to see if he's gonna want those or not. Tempted to get rid of them though. Okay, so right here is my red poetry books. And then these are kind of like homeschooling and mostly homeschooling books. This is the history of the Renaissance world. Something that I would like to read eventually, but it's a big book. Somebody here was watching me with this bookshelf tour. He thought it was kind of boring. So there you have it. That is an updated tour of my bookshelves for this year. I think it's been about a year since my last one. I like changing them because I'll be unhauling books throughout the year as I decide I'm not really into those books anymore. Overall, my favorite way to organize bookshelves is by genre and then rainbow. I am probably in the next year going to try to do a complete rainbow shelf. Scrap the genre. Just try the rainbow shelves out for a bit. See how it goes. I feel like it looks really cool. I like how it looks, but it's harder to find books. But that was my bookshelves. I would love to hear how you organize your bookshelves.